Greetings. Today is a special day. Today is Wednesday, July the 2nd, 2025, and it is the 51st anniversary of my Circle of Grace One. It's the original journey that my mother wanted to take with her own spiritual circle work back on Long Island back in the 1970s. But she didn't get a chance to do that because of her diabetic condition. So she kind of passed along a torch. Actually, she lit a candle and gave it to me. And I said, "What's this for?" And she said, "Hey, this is so that you could carry on the work that I've been doing. Just got to give it a name." So I called it Circle of Grace One, established on July 2nd, 1974. And we're still here today, 51 years later, going strong. Well, now that that commercial break is done, let's start with this pre-recorded. This is a pre-recorded program for Clear Blue Radiance. Now, many of you know that I've been a spiritual counselor for at least 40 plus years, and I enjoy helping many people, such as yourself, gain greater clarity in your life and perhaps help you rediscover what your purpose is or find a new purpose. We all have an opportunity to make changes in our life and receive changes in the world. Divine providence, divine presence, I am, is always expressing itself through us because we're the open door. We're like a gateway. So today's topic is you are an artist. Create a new you. Now, the whole world is a place of an energy form, I should say, of creativity, of divine essences and nuances of creativity in different forms. We often see artists, such as myself. I majored in art some 50 over 51 years ago. I started actually 55 years ago studying art in college. And sometimes people see artists like myself and many others that are on the planet as highly talented individuals with great skills. Now, I must mind you, I had a natural talent for art, for drawing, but I had to learn how to paint. I had to learn how to see perspective. Had a hard time seeing how perspective is, which is one point perspective, everything converging off into the distance on one point, which, as we know, is really an illusion. Because if you're on a road and you see it only go to one point, the further you go down the road, the more the sides open up. I remember when I was in college, majoring in art, I went on a journey of learning to observe objects and people in space. This was called contour drawing, Contour. Now, what is that? Can you imagine just seeing me, but you're not shading in me? You're not putting color in me. What you're drawing is what you see as the edge and the gaps between the headset in my head and hat. Then instead of filling in this portion, you go to the outside. And of course, you draw the chord, but you don't fill in the chord. You draw it so there's space there. And then you would draw the edge. The same if I put my hand up, you would only draw the edge of my hand. That's contour drawing. You're following the shape of a person, animal, being, or inanimate object, or a piece of fruit if you want, or some part in nature, but you're not filling in the spaces. You're just drawing the outline. That's contour drawing. And what's very unique about drawing as an artist is you get a chance to capture an image that you see before you. And as an artist, you might learn the basics and the foundations, but mainly You learn how to liberate your mind and see and interpret the way you want something that you see before you to look on paper or on canvas. Then we learned how to draw an object or person using light and dark shading. Now, what was that? Again, looking at me and the lights, that ring lights that I have on me, you would not try to outline the eyes. You would not try to outline the face and the folds in my face, the nose and the mouth. You would do it through shading without trying to create a hard line, but shade and light. The same with the pattern of my polo shirt. It's two tones of light blue, but you're not going to make it all one solid shade. You're going to use shade, shadow in the folds to create this upper part of me, and so on and so forth, even right down here to the books. These books, you would do the same thing, try to get the highlight of the light ricocheting off the binders of the book and the tarot cards and so forth. So that's another way. But then when you do that and you're using shade and shadow, you're in essence getting the feeling. You're creating the form to create the personal object or thing in front of you. And this allows you to get the feeling of the presence of that person, thing, or object. Next, though, was my favorite that I brought along with me out of college, and it was called the quick sketch. And the quick sketch is really capturing the essence right away. So it'd be getting the loop, the fold, the hat in one line, then getting my face and somehow getting my eyes in just right, and what appears to be my nose and mouth and shoulders. A quick sketch. The quick sketch is like the signature of the person that you see in front of you. What stands out the most? Have you ever seen those people on city streets, in subways, and train stations? And they're artists, and they're drawing outside of restaurants or in restaurants. They draw what is called a caricature of the person. They pick up your trait. They make you look like a cartoon version of yourself. They pick up something that's very unique, and they're able to capture it and put it on the page in front of them. That's quick sketch drawing. They know what stands out most, especially if they tell you to smile. They can capture the essence of your smile and put it on paper. Now, I did that a lot when I first arrived here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I stayed with a gentleman, and he'd like to go out, I believe, on a Tuesday or a Thursday night. I believe it's a Tuesday night where they have swing jazz dancing, sometimes salsa. And it was at a hotel. This hotel was called Hotel Albuquerque, and they had a bar called the Q Bar. And so we'd go in there from 6 p.m. all the way up to about 9 or 10 o'clock. But I would take a sketch pad and I would begin to sketch the people dancing, quick sketch, just try to get the movements on paper. I would also catch the movement of the musicians, the body postures of the musicians. And I did it more for the musicians than the people dancing. Why? It was a great way of giving each musician that played that I saw that night a beautiful tip, which is a drawing of themselves performing while people are dancing. So that was a way. And, this was good. Sometimes I could draw a drummer with arcs around him that represented the cymbals in motion and striking lines like rays of him playing with the stick. Well, artists, musicians, dancers, and singers are like the infinite expressions of thoughts and feelings of the divine creator's heart and mind. Have you ever seen a dancer begin to work out his or her or a couple's routine or a group on a stage where they're rehearsing with the dance choreographer? And there's a reason why one of them will sit down in the audience, even with the pit and the floor. But the most important one is sitting up in the balcony. Why? Because now they could see their design of the dance, how it'll be displayed on the stage. And that's a great view from the balcony. And then that person could speak through a microphone. Dancer number 1 and 2, I need you to be more here on a diagonal, come forward. Those in the back, go backward. In the middle row, kind of move over. Now the dancer doesn't see that. The dancer just sees themselves on the floor, and they have to move on the floor accordingly. It is the same when you go to a college football game, university football game. And before the game, you have the band conductor, right? And he has hundreds of musicians, maybe 400 or 500 musicians playing each horn section, drum section, and he's telling them how to move. And the thing is, they have to remember those intricate steps and movements, as well as the music. They're reading the music, but some of them can get so good that they memorize the music compositions that they're playing, and then have to be able to form these intricate formations on a football field. Imagine seeing that. They're being creative as well. Well, an artist has to learn to work with clay, especially if he or she is a sculptor. They work with clay, they work with metal, uh, recycled metal, they work with the air itself, wood, and clay. So they work with wood, metal, clay, and air. Well, why would I say air? Because they got to make that object look just right from every angle that anyone could see it. So keep that in mind. If you're a sculptor, especially a wood sculpture or a stone sculpture, you have to be able to find the perfect piece that expresses images within it. And as the sculptor looks at the wood or looks at the stone, they begin to see something. Now, if they're looking at a stone, they get a chance to take something and kind of etch out a design wherever they see that they're going to work on that stone. But they got to bring the image out of the stone. If it's wood, they got to bring the image up out of the wood. And then they have all other tools, right? They have hammers and chisels with different edges of blades. They have markers. There's all kind of tools that they have to work with. But the greatest tool is not only their hands and their eyes and the visions that they see, but they need patience. They got to let their patience work for them. You see, we are co-creators and creators who either choose a linear or spatial path to follow or become the leader. We use our thoughts to recreate old patterns of ideas that paint old stories. And this is something we have to pay attention to. We don't want to paint old stories too many times. We don't want to repeat. Because if you're repeating a story a little too much, it becomes boring. Also, you lock into the old story with the old experiences, positive, negative, and neutral. In any event, it's almost like you're trying to recreate that old story. And being that you're walking throughout the universal mind is like Akashic in itself, and it's absorbing every thought and every feeling. So when you're replaying something and worries and anxieties kick in, and I've been guilty of that myself, that often what happens is you begin to replay. You're like telling the universe to give you more of that, give you more of what would make you sad, give you more of what will bring your thoughts down, to give you heavy energy. That's why it's so important to see yourself as a creator and co-creator. When you see yourself as a co-creator, imagine like you're working in collaboration with other people on an art project or a business project. Everybody has to play their part, but everybody can't keep repeating the old stories, the old things that didn't work out that are connected to perhaps the current project or idea. The universe is your co-creator. You're in the universe, we're in it, and we're constantly pumping out thoughts and feelings. We're creating images, stories about ourselves. So we can incorporate new levels of energy and feel new things emerging deep within us. We can. That's what's so important about fasting, prayer, and meditation, to give your body a rest to refuel itself with divine energy that's always there, called pranayama, or prana itself, ki, chi, organic energy, spirit. The intelligence of the divine wants to rest itself in you and pour itself through you. We allow the process of birthing a new world of living and being. And every day we recreate or continue this process. Now, sometimes this is what I've learned as an artist through the years. If you're trying to recreate a specific drawing or painting, you have to record the mood that you're in. What was the level of sensitivity that you had when you first began the project of painting or drawing, especially if it's a painting? Why? Because if you can remember the type of mood that you were in, and hopefully it was a high energetic mood, then the body will bring forth the exact colors or the basic colors that you were using on the canvas or on the wood. The body has its own memory senses going on. It has its own hidden library. So sometimes we recreate the mood or feeling to latch onto our new selves because we have a plan. We know there's a basic plan. And that basic plan is going to carry you further. It's going to what? Expand your awareness about where you are in life at this moment. It's going to expand and bring forth the memory of the goodness of your life. Yeah, there's some old stuff there that wasn't too good, the stank stuff. But this is the coolest thing is that your body is like a replica of Akashic energy. Throughout your body, every one of those trillions of cells going and coming is constantly recording your life's journey, your life's experiences. So you want to keep that in mind. This is why many metaphysicians who are teachers and people who teach meditation or teach you how to use affirmations. And I want to tell you, if someone out there says affirmations don't work, well, they don't work for them. Mm-hmm. The late Reverend Ike used to say, you got to use it to make it work. You've got to have a desire. You got to have a decision. You got to know what it is that you want. And you can't let someone else say, oh, it ain't going to work. Because it didn't work for them, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. That's how some people think. Some well, in our family, we don't have any doctors. People used to think that long ago. People say, oh, why you want to play sports? You don't make any money playing sports. Oh, why you want to be a musician, street musician? You don't make no money doing that. But now, 50 years later, they see people making money. I remember when I first saw LL Cool J in St. Albans, Queens. He was shooting a video. He was standing on top of a car. I don't remember the tune, but I remember I was coming from a particular Moorish science temple that I belonged to that time, that back at those days. And a few guys said to me, oh, this is like rubbish. What is this? I can't even get down the block to take me home. I said, let's pull off on the side and just listen. Man, he back then he wasn't buffed. He was a thin guy, but he had the street rocket. And the people who were in the video, they were rocking it just as tough as he was. And as we pulled away from it, pulled the car over to the side, and I looked at the brothers in the car with me, and I said, you know what? He says, what? There's something about him. I said, what do you mean? I said, he's got that that thing, that special thing that everybody has that's really gifted. And somehow they're going to make it. This thing, this rap thing that we hear them doing, it's going to be around for a long time. So the break dancing that you see them doing in the street, it's going to be around for a long time. And it's going to get better and more intricate as time goes. And what's going to happen is we can look back some 30, 40 years later into the future, look back, and we'll remember these guys that we saw them on the street. I saw the guy that calls himself Buster. I used to live in Uniondale. He was trying to sell his cassette tapes of his rap music from the back of the trunk of his car. Now look at him now. He's done movies, numerous movies, all kinds of movies, martial arts movies, everything you can think of, he's been in it. And that's good for him. It was his time. But what do they always tell you? You work at it. You got to have patience. And you just got to keep working at it. And you got to have patience. And you got to keep working at it. And you got to have patience. And you got to perfect your craft. You think of all these guys now that, like, we see the R&B groups that are out, the older guys coming back and they're still singing. Why? Because that's who they were and who they've always been. Look at the group, The Temptations. They're artists, they're singers. Smokey Robinson and Miracles, also with Motown. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, he wrote a lot of the Temptations tunes. A lot of them wrote back and forth for each other. Even in the women's groups, they wrote for each other, Supremes and Marvelettes, you name it. They were writing for each other, putting those tunes out there under the name of Berry Gordy's Motown Records. Why am I bringing all of this up? Because everybody that's in earshot, sight of me right now, viewing this pre-recorded video, you are on some level an artist, a dancer, a musician, a singer, and better yet, a composer and arranger of music. And you've been doing it your entire life. Even if you're in the field of business, you still are using a what? Creative mind. You have an articulate way of expressing yourself to your team, to the managers, to clients. People that selling something, an idea to a client whose work that they're going to market, right? They have a way of putting it out there and making it believable. Also through their research, marketing research, they can tell how the product is going to sell. Well, the unique thing, if you want to put your idea into the universe, your feeling has to go with the idea. You can intend it to be, but there must be some emotional content in there that's carrying the energy, that acts as the fuel, that makes the intention come alive. Every day we recreate or continue to build on something new. That's every moment of the day. If we can get out of our box of fears and illusions and doubts and self-sabotage and low self-esteem, if we could override that and melt that and dissolve that and begin to focus on the pureness of ourselves, the pure innocence of who we are in this world and beyond. The canvas called life is waiting for our fresh paint. Our fresh paint is our emotions, a high elevated form of emotions. Sometimes we recreate the mood of feeling to latch on to our new selves. But we're talking about something that's new. And when it's something that's new, often you can't see the end result, but you have to not just believe that it's going to work, you have to envision this brow center. Back here is something called the third eye, the pineal gland connected to these two eyes, and the pituitary, somewhere in there, along with you being articulate and speaking and hearing the light, and then feeling it empathically, feeling it through the heart, knowing intuitively that it's going to be there. We are both passionate about our lives and compassionate about ourselves. We have to be passionate about our desires and compassionate about ourselves as individuals. But we're not separated from the bigger content in the world. We're not separated. We're all spiritual beings. We are such spiritual beings that one of my teachers, and I call him my teacher, uh, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and I believe one of his Sunday presentations, he said that we are quantum beings. We're spiritual beings coming out of the quantum field with intelligence, with all of the abilities and desires, and all of the needs that we desire are just inside and teeming on the inside. He said something to that effect, that it's in the world. We're bringing it in the world. We're the vehicle. We're the gateway. This is what I say. We're the gateway. Akhenaten and Nefertiti tell me we're the open door. But we have to remain open. Why? Because the presence of spirit, the entirety of the universe, the entirety of galactic force of the universe can move and breathe itself through us. It's almost saying we're like a marionette puppeteer. But with our ideas and the universe is the marionette puppeteer at a big level, and it's getting us to move through a sea of consciousness. But you see, sometimes as we are this open door, so the universe, divine presence, God presence can express itself through us. Sometimes we're unconsciously observing it and feeling it. That's when we get to the point where we're not sure what we're looking at. We're in this housing form, but we're not attuned to the higher self enough to know what we're actually looking at. But as we grow in greater awareness and remembrance of our divine presence that we are uniquely a part of and that we're born out of, so to speak, we're in this infinite body, we're a part of it, then we are consciously observing and feeling the journey in intricate ways. This is something that we have to begin to learn, to remember, to pay attention to. We're no longer going to be unconscious. We're growing consistently to be conscious of the now moment, that everything is created in this moment, and everything that we're looking to fulfill in this moment is right here. Sometimes we don't understand how high the energy is above us. So sometimes you have to practice your meditations like this. This is something I've been doing. I've just been envisioning myself as a very profound, infinite being who is larger than this physical form. That's my higher self. And I start to pay attention to its movements, its verbiage, its spiritual flavor, its metaphysical thought process. I begin to realize that I am actually my higher self. Now, sometimes when this does happen, I find myself wide awake at night. And I'm going to admit, there are the moments I worry, just like an average person. I could be worried about something, but I've also learned to put my heart into what is it that I truly desire and know that I'm in touch with other beings at any given time. It is as if they're seated around me in a circle. People ask me, how do you communicate with Mother Grace and Grandma Charlotte? I know they're here. They're not out there somewhere. They're here. How do you contact and communicate and hear a message from Akhenaten and Nefertiti? They're not out there. They are here. The worlds overlap. And if I get my ego sense out the way, then I really feel the communication. So this entire process allows us to realize how precious our thoughts, intentions, feelings, and actions are. This entire process called the journey of life. We're thinking in there all the time. We're feeling all the time. We have intentions and we got actions. We try not to react. We try to act on something that's proper, that's consistent, that carries a higher vision for ourselves, a higher energy. The clear sense of knowing as intuition plays that all important role. And when we realize that, our spirit can be free. That's what makes us an artist. An artist is free to create. You have recycled artists, wood sculpture, metal sculpture, clay sculpture. Got artists who paint. You ever see graffiti artists? Now, those people, how they're able to get those platforms up there and do something on a huge scale. And they just spray and paint in colors. But when you step back, you see the whole image come into play. That's magnificent. That's unique. That's painting on a wall, space that's bigger than 8 feet wide and 8 feet tall. We're talking about a whole side of a building. Excuse me. A whole side of a building. They're creating this magnanimous image of a person. They're not using brush and can and paint. They're spray painting. There are artists today who use wood and they take like a flame torch and get the flame as small as they can. And they work with the flame on wood and they're creating realistic human faces. That's a supreme level of art. That goes beyond the common concept of drawing or painting. I just mentioned these things because we are all creators and co-creators. We have many people that we co-create with, but the universe is the big one. The universe is co-creating with us on a much larger scale. And we just have to learn how to get into gear. We have to learn how to attune to it and stay aligned to it. That way, we're never without a sense of connection, true connection. We're never without real connection. It's just like a mother who's had children. She knows her children. I used to bite my nails a lot when I was a child. My mother knew when I was biting my nails. Francis, take that thumb out of your mouth. Francis, start nibbling. You ain't not gonna have no fingers. I'm like, how she know? She's on the other side of the house in the kitchen. How she know that? She's not looking at me. No, she has an emotional connection. And some part of me is sending a signal out into the ethers, and she could feel it. When you're close to loved ones, you can feel it. You're almost picking up on their thoughts. You're not trying to read them. It's just happening because you got an emotional connection, which is an in-depth spiritual connection. So it's the same. Remember, you're an artist developing yourself, expanding your remembrance, and creating a new you every moment of your life. That's my message for today. It is June the 2nd. Hey, if you want to reconnect and celebrate with me, Go over to Facebook. There's an image you'll see there real soon, a little moving image that talks about the today's special date, July the 2nd, 2025. Well, I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I'm the founder of the Circle Grace One and chief principal teacher. I'm also affiliated with Resonant Essentials, Esoteric School of Metaphysics out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I am the Saturday morning meditation teacher. I teach a lot of other things online through the Circle Grace One as well. So if you want to get in touch with me, just email me at iam.circleofgrace with the number one at the end at gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. Hey, next couple of days, enjoy your weekend off with your family and with your friends. Stay cool wherever you're at, get plenty of rest, and stay hydrated. Take care. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. My grace is your grace unconditional.